Welcome to the Rise to Thrive podcast with Matt
and Brooke,
where we embrace what it means to be human and explore how to become the most expansive versions of ourselves through vitality, connection, and play.
Expect honest conversations, transformative stories, and playful shenanigans as we unpack what it means to claim a life of your own creation.
Ready?
Let's rise.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rise to Thrive podcast. We're your hosts, Matt.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we've got an incredible guest. He is a father, he's a partner, he's a poet, he's a minister, and a fellow human being. Mr. William, thanks for being on the podcast.
It's an honor.
It's so cool to be able to have you on here. We met William a number of weeks ago, maybe about a month almost.
About a month ago?
At this stage. At the local Unity Church out here in Bend, Oregon. And I don't know if our listeners know if we've talked much about.
I think we mentioned Unity last podcast, actually, because
Okay.
we're talking about, we tuned in. We weren't there physically last week, but we tuned in virtually to your talk on beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spoke a little bit about that on our last podcast episode about finding beauty. But I'm trying to remember, the first time that we heard you speak, you were talking about the burnt grilled cheese sandwiches that you made for your children, juggling everything, I believe, were you a single dad at that time?
Yeah, I was a single dad.
Yeah. So
My
that was
precious little hellions.
yeah, hellions. So just the description, the way that you told stories and just the levity that you bring, it's so inviting and so warm and welcoming, and just the laughter and the playfulness in your spirit was very just attractive to us. And so yeah, we really appreciated coming in and feeling right at home at Unity and Bend. So
Hey everyone, just wanted to jump on here quick and give you guys some love and shout you out. We've been doing this podcast for now 2 months. It's wild to think. And we've been having a lot of fun doing it.
So if you are having fun on this journey with us, make sure to like the episodes and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then give us a follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as a 5-star rating.
And if there is a notification bell, make sure to hit that so you don't miss an episode.
All right, back to the show.
See you in there.
Yeah, and here we are now to hopefully get a little bit more of that, or whatever it is that you want to bring today, wherever you're at. I know every day there's different flavors of our humanness, so we're excited to taste whatever flavor you have to bring to us today. So, if you'd like to give just a little background, I mean, we're excited about hearing more about your story into the minister work that you do, and also as a father, kind of what your transformation was into, where you were and how you got to the work that you do today.
Yeah, well, there's something you should know about me right off the bat, and that I'm about as ordinary as you can get. There's nothing really special about me. And that's something that I just had to realize. We always try to. There was a time in my life I would tell stories about myself to make myself look more important. And then I eventually came to a place where I realized, I'm just an average, ordinary dude who grew up in a small town, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really reach for things to make myself. And when I was asked to write a bio, it was really hard for me to write a bio. Yeah, so I'm a maxed out, overwhelmed dad. Okay.
Hey, that's relatable, that's the thing. Like, we want to bring on people where humans can relate.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
And so goodness sakes, I mean, if we're talking about transformation, there's a couple big points in my life where things took drastic turns. And I feel as though I believe that life will give us everything we need to grow and to heal, even if that is adversity. And I really feel like whatever this life is that birthed me and breathes me and lives me has wanted more for me than someone who's stuck in a NPC position. And so I've had some experiences that really cracked me out of my NPC hood
Mm.
that at the time were traumatic and seemed somewhat miraculous. And I look back and I'm so great for them, because if I wouldn't have been thoroughly humbled in this life, I would have been an insufferable, arrogant asshole. And so I'm glad I got to escape that.
And for the ones listening that don't know what NPC means, what does it mean, and what does that mean to you when you say you would have been, you were lost in?
So hang on, time out. Technically, NPC is a non-player character in video games. So when I use that term, I'm usually talking to younger people.
Mhm.
And I'm Generation X, but I grew up in a small town, which was like years ahead of where mainstream is. So you might as well consider me a boomer.
Mhm.
So I'm a boomer doing the best I can in a world that I feel like is passing me by. But I used to say dronehood,
Mhm.
droneship, where you're given a set of beliefs and values and circumstances through your childhood, and you just live those out without ever questioning them. A lot of us have beliefs, and it's sort of like, it's as if to say, if our conscious mind is our RAM and our subconscious mind is our hard drive, our operating system is what we believe about ourselves and what we believe about the world and what we believe about ourselves in relationship to the world. And if you've never examined those, you're basically just living out your drone ship.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, I grew up in a really small cultish sort of religion, and was taught everyone's going to die at Armageddon. And
Mhm.
I was forbidden from going to college, even though I had some honors classes in high school. And when I was in this religion, I really believed it. I believed that's what God was, and this was my place in the world. And I'm a very loyal and faithful person. So to leave my religion would have been turning my back on my friends and family.
Mm.
And I would have never done that had I not been involved in in a in an accident. Um, this was on the South Santiam, and I was showing off for a girl, and I dove off a cliff, and it was a place I knew well. I knew the place well. And as I'm coming down, I notice there's a rock shelf, and I'm not going to clear it to make the deep water. And I hit my head, and I fractured my skull. And the next thing I knew, I was standing on the cliff next to her, looking at my body in the water. And it was as if my body was inconsequential to me.
Whoa.
And and from then on, I went to have this whole experience. And goodness sakes, I got to have what they call a past life review. And at
Mhm.
that time, that was the summer of 1998, and I didn't know anything about near-death experiences. In fact, what I was taught from my religion is Ezekiel, Solomon says that the dead dream no dreams and they think no thoughts, to say that when you die, you're held in the mind of God to be resurrected later. And so I was fully expecting, that. And instead I had this beautiful experience. So I'm standing on the cliff looking at my body in the water, and I just saw this brightness, and the brightness just got brighter, and then it got brighter until it was only bright. And I remember feeling this lightness, this beautiful, warm, loving light. It was precious.
Mm.
And and then the next thing I knew, it was as though I was sitting in a movie theater watching my life. And goodness sakes, it started before I was in a body. So in this, as I'm watching, it was though I was there with 3 or 4 other souls on the rim of the earth, and we were about to drop into density. And I was saying to myself, like, I want to wake up. I want to wake up, because there was a high possibility dropping into density and spending 9 months in a womb, you would totally forget who the hell you were or what you were thinking about. And what's, comical is I totally forgot who I was, what I wanted to remember. And to be honest, I still don't know what it was, but I got that image. And then I got to see my life from everyone else's perspective. For instance, when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, she wept because she had 4 teenage daughters and she thought she was done with kids.
Wow.
Mhm.
And then I got to see like me from everyone else's perspective. And some of that was great. I remember one memory was like 6th grade. We had a substitute teacher. The kids were really cruel to her. And I remember I went up and I helped her pick up her books that she dropped, and I told her thank you. And I got to feel the warmth inside of her heart
Mm.
as I said that to her. But I also had a memory of this girl who had a crush on me in 6th grade, and she wanted to hang out with me. And it was after class. I'm writing census. I'm like, I will not talk in class 25 times on the blackboard while my friends are waiting for me to go play basketball. And it's a warm, sunny spring day. So it stopped raining and we're about to go play basketball. And she wanted to show me stuff. She's like, Billy, I want to show you this. And I said to her, I'll never forget, this is like an encapsulated memory. I said, listen, you're fat and you're ugly. Why would I want to hang out with you anyway? And I said that because I wanted her to stop bugging me, because I had already said, hey, I'm going to go play basketball, several times.
Right.
And also I was having those moments where I was trying to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that moment, I was busy. I was into my own thing. I'm in 6th grade,
Right.
but when I saw it I got to see it from her perspective, and I got to see her say, oh, that's right. I am bigger than the other girls. If I was pretty, Billy would want to hang out with me. And then I got to see all the times later in life where she wanted to smile and covered her face.
Aw.
So it was really heartbreaking and really humbling. And I remember, goodness sakes, I remember at the end, I just said, I want to love. I want to go back. I want to love.
Hmm.
And I remember praying to God, or whatever God is, like so I wake up, I'm in the water, and I'm just seeing shiny pebbles. I just see shiny pebbles. And I see shiny pebbles, and I vaguely remember hitting my head, and then I think, I'm a quad, and now I'm just waiting to drown.
Mm.
And I'm looking, and I can't move, and I'm looking at the pebbles and the dirt, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm a quad, and I'm just waiting to drown. And I said, God, if you could help me, I said, I know you can help me, and I know you don't have to. I
Mm.
did this. And then I could move my fingertips. And then I pushed myself up, and I remember I couldn't see out of this eye because it was hemorrhaging and swollen, and my eye was bulging out because I had cracked my skull and split my forehead open. And then I stood up and I'm looking around, and I knew exactly where I was, but I didn't know when I was. It was like I'd been swimming. My parents brought me to this spot when I was little.
Mm.
I'm looking around for my parents. I'm confused about when I am. And then I waded across the river, and I started walking up to the road, and I saw these two dudes come running down the path next to me. I wonder where they're going, and they're looking at me in shock. And then we walk up, and this beautiful girl's coming. She's saying, Billy, and she's holding my hand. I'm like, wow, I got it going on, but I still don't know what's going on. And when we get to my truck, I look at my pickup, and it was like I got total recall. I just screwed up the greatest weekend of my life. I was going to the coast with this beautiful girl, and I dove off this cliff, and now we're going to the hospital, and I just ruined this whole weekend. But what ended up happening from that was I couldn't take the small religion. I couldn't do the religion. I couldn't do Armageddon. I couldn't do that. There's some people that are approved of by God and some people aren't. I gave away I used to wear sports paraphernalia. I gave away all that stuff. I gave away a lot of my hunting stuff. It was like, I couldn't fit inside that old box anymore. I saw something that was bigger than religion. And I wrote a poem about that. I wrote a couple. Do you want to hear one?
Yeah, we would love to. Please.
This poem's about my experience in the water when I hit my head and I'm in the water. And it's an ode dedicated to the fairy of the waters of the Santiam River. She's not the only fairy of the waters of the Santiam River. She's just the one that I met as she held my breath as my body drifted lifelessly downstream. The Santiam sings like a crystal dream with blues and greens and mysteries, and sometimes I can still feel her in my dreams, and she's so real, and so it seems. She has a smile like a nursery rhyme, and a voice like a lullaby, and she sings to me beautifully with rhymes and chimes of sunny days and happy times where there is no shame in the shed of tears. Warm, kind words gently drifting down into my ears, showering me with soft, lovely little things, and how sweet that is what loving life and caring brings. With her moist red lips, she comforts me with a kiss. So smooth, so soft, I drift off. Every muscle in my body, every thought in my mind at ease, sublime. Oh, yeah. The Santiam sings like a crystal dream with blues and greens and mysteries. And I wondered how I was knocked unconscious and I drifted down river for over 100 yards and never once took a breath because it only takes a teaspoon of water to drown. And somehow I didn't. And I'll never know the answer to that.
Big exhale. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
We're really going in deep right off the hop. I love it.
We're diving in deep to the shallow end. I'm just kidding.
I hope that's not too soon to make that joke.
Yeah.
You
How
would.
old? How old were you when that incident happened?
I was 28.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Hey, real quick. If you guys didn't know, the 3 pillars of Rise to Thrive are vitality, connection, and play. If you want to squeeze more juice out of life, then join our free community on School.
This is about reclaiming your vitality, feeling more connected, and honestly bringing more energy and play back into your life. And it's also where we'll be the most active. Real-time conversations, updates, all of it.
So if you're ready to go deeper and stay connected with us in real time, hit the link in the show notes and join the tribe inside. And I'm so curious. I know you mentioned that for you, you couldn't go back to that religion that you were a part of, and something clicked for you that had you start to make these changes in your life. Like life was not the same. What was it about the near-death experience and what you experienced and what you saw and what you felt, in the great beyond, that had you that had you go, okay, I need to make a change, or like, what was the thing that went click for you?
So the only reason cults work, or the only reason racism works, is if you think of someone as being an other. And I was in a small religion where we were the only approved of people by God and everyone else was disapproved.
Hmm.
So, and then also so much about identifying with the body. And so seeing outside of that, I got to see that I was something before a body. I'm something more than a name. And that everything comes from the same source. And that God is much bigger than we can imagine, whatever God is. I mean, sometimes I think of God as an infinitely reoccurring undulation of light, sound, frequency, vibration, flowing through and around all things and encompassing the spaces in between. But it doesn't have a name, and you can't steal from it, you can't piss it off, and you can't disappoint it. So all those things just melted away.
And in that moment, did you leave? Like, what was the next immediate thing that happened in your life?
So as far as that went, I went and talked to the elders about my experience, and they told me that those were demons trying to trick me. And I had then found a truth that was bigger than their truth, and realized that nobody owns the truth.
Mm.
And so I wrote another poem that I wrote to try to explain this to my family, try to explain this bigger truth that I had learned.
Right.
But it's part of a trilogy. Do you want to hear the whole trilogy, or should I just do that one part? I'll just do that one part.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So hang on, time out. As we sit here right now, the wind is blowing across the ocean. It's dancing over the swells. It's drawing up moisture and spinning wet into clouds, and then sending some back down like raindrops from the heavens. And it comes blowing into the coastal range. and then pours into the Willamette Valley, and then it pushes against the Cascades, and it sends waves of air over the top of the Cascades, down the east side, tumbling over the tops of the pine trees, out into the juniper forest, blowing through the streets of Redmond into the Redmond Library. And you just took a breath of this air. And this air is now passing from your lungs into your bloodstream, coursing through your veins and reaching your heart. And hello and welcome to your life. You have just been jacked into the most amazing fantasy game ever imagined, and it's called actual reality. And with every breath you take and every beat of your heart, you are a player in this game, a dancer on this stage. And this stage is everything you can see and smell and taste and touch and feel and hear and think, and where you go in your minds. And the only real question is, what do you want out of this? If someone wishes to be miserable, life will provide no shortage of misery. Or if someone wishes to behold of their game, their dance, their stage, as though it were a tasty treat extravaganza beckoning for you to peruse these delicacies, this life can also be. So I have a few words for you along your way, my fellow travelers, and that is that love is bigger than religions. Truth is older than the scriptures, and innocence is indestructible. Innocence is indestructible, like every wave crashing the shore, every newborn baby crying, every dandelion that grows up through the cracks in the sidewalk to reflect its own little goldenness back onto the sun. Integrity is a light in our heart that never goes out. We may be shamed away from it. We may forget it. We might even rage against it. But our integrity is there forever shining, awaiting our inevitable memory of it. True beauty is a feeling inside of us that inspires us to dance, not how we look when we dance. True beauty is a feeling inside of us that inspires us to sing, not how we sound when we sing. And we are free to be beautiful right now. Just wake up, sweetheart, and remember who you are.
Ooh,
Potent.
all the truth codes. And so this is what you shared with your family, what you just shared with
Yeah,
us.
that was me trying to share, this innate divinity that lives within us without it being about Bible or religions or scriptures, that the truth, the love is beyond religion and beyond books.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that received?
Well, good. My mom and my sister still left the religion, and my mom passed away, or they still were in the religion. My mom passed away a couple winters ago. And when I went to her memorial, I was perceived by the people in that religion as being the right hand man of the devil, because half of my family left after I told them about that.
Wow.
So I had a whole crew of people who heard my truth and said, I don't think I can redo this religion either.
Wow.
So from their perspective, I'm like Judas Iscariot, and that's something I have to, and these are people I love and care about, who will never speak to me again.
But look at what you inspired in the ones that felt it and resonated with your truth. If it weren't for you, who knows where those people would be in the game, right?
Yeah, it's a very small life, living a life in a cage like that.
Yeah.
Where the world's out to get you. God is super judgmental. You can never measure up. I mean, it's a sad life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Feels very constricting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to do time in a body and grow old and die, I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's way too
You
much.
guys are weird.
Yeah. We're definitely weird, and we're definitely on the same wave as you
Yeah.
in that sense. I mean, for me, I grew up not super religious. I was baptized Catholic just out of, I think, pure tradition from my father's side of the family, but we never practiced any real spirituality growing up. It wasn't until 2017, at the age of 28 as well, actually, where my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at 58. and was told he had 6 months to live. And that rite of passage of going through that with my family and was a tremendous awakening for me. And eventually through that, I found my own path of seeking the curiosity that never died, the innocence that you spoke of, the indestructible innocence. Is that what you said? It's
Yeah.
indestructible, which I love that,
Mhm.
is like that innocent curiosity that explore everything with wonder. That started to reemerge in me in a way of like, wow, I can step into a whole new career. I can step into learning all sorts of new skills. I can figure out entrepreneurship. I can forge my own path. I can get back into nature and rewild myself like I loved so much as a child, and start getting into backcountry camping and going to these very remote locations. But for me, it eventually led me to spiritual discovery as well, and connecting to the unseen realms. And so I really can relate to what you're sharing. And this life is so precious, and we've had the privilege of connecting with so many incredible people, and every time we do, it just blasts our hearts wider and wider open, and realizing like that's what this is all about, is to embody more of who we are, which I believe is more love, and to extend the good, the beautiful, and the holy. That's
Yep.
what we say.
Yeah, have you dipped into, I don't know if we talked about this, but the book The Way of Mastery?
Yes. Um, it's been several years ago that I read it, but there were passages in that I used as mantras, like especially one about my life is a tailored ashram. I'm paraphrasing, but that my everyday life and the people in my life right now is like my own personal ashram, and there are teachers all around me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the books that we discovered through the other Unity. That's been like kind of our holy scripture that we have been reading and rereading. And we used to be part of a book club on that, but it's through, because both of us were never really, like Matt said, super religious. I wasn't raised religious. I was given the choice to explore whatever religion and spirituality that I wanted. Um, but being more of a spiritual person and not feeling super aligned with the rigid structure of religion, it just never felt like truth to me. This book is through the lens of Jesus, but as our friend, as our guide, as, a teacher, and not this hierarchical, you know, savior complex kind of. So it's been really great. And I did a whole little full moon release today into the fire at camp. And we actually collectively wrote a poem today. I am a poet as well. And so we wrote one about the Metolius River. But yeah, just such a great book to have to remind ourselves of the love, of the innocence, of I and my Father are one, right? And to not look upon others with judgment, for we are just divine mirrors of one another. So yeah, I love that. We're all on the same page, and that's why we have come together today. And yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I had no idea. It's kind of funny how there's more stories popping up in our world around near death experiences, because that's something I've been like so interested in myself. And we had Natalie
It's
on too.
it's funny because when that happened to me, I had never heard of anything like that. And then later on, I found out that it had happened to other people too. And there was a part of me that felt relieved, and a part of me was like, "Oh, pissed off. I thought I was special."
Uh,
You're the chosen one.
the ego was like, I will grab onto this.
Yeah. Did your poetry birth after you had that experience, or were you already kind of in the art space?
Um, I I wrote poetry in the closet because in the family I grew up in, it was not okay for boys to write poetry. There was a lot of like, the really strict, machismo stuff that I grew up with.
Yeah.
and I'm so glad to be on the other side of that. Yeah, poetry was not something that was encouraged, but I still wrote. I still wrote really cheesy poetry. And some of it was lyrical. I love words. Words are clumsy. But there's also real beauty in words. But the first time I found that there was value in it was when I was at Burning Man,
Mm.
and I went to Burning Man. So after this happened, my near death experience, I was on a quest to find actual humanity. I
Uh-huh.
was on a quest to find the last free roaming bands of human beings who were authentic and spoke their heart. And I remember going to the country fair,
Mhm.
and here I am, 28 years old, having the first one night stand of my life at the country fair. And I'm talking to this girl, and she's like, "You should go to Burning Man." And so I went to Burning Man, and I went, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I just, packed up my camper and went. And people kept giving me things. It was a gifting society. So people are giving me food. People are helping me with this. People are coming up just so excited to give me stuff. And learning to accept gifts has taken a
Mm.
lifetime for me. And so I was overwhelmed. I had nothing to give people back. So I started telling stories and,
Mm.
reciting poetry. And I found out that, wow, there's something there, and I have a gift for it, you
Yeah.
know? So, so goodness sakes, that's where I first found out it was valuable, and I started reciting it. I wrote a
Mm.
poem about Burning Man. Do you want to hear that?
Let's go.
Are you
Bring it
are you
in.
sure you can handle this?
Yep.
Um, this one's fun for me to recite because I get to go there too and then come
Yeah.
back here with words. Um, I mounted my bicycle and I rode out into the night, down to the corner of absurd and reality streets, and I looked out upon this melee of naked people, painted people, people wearing costumes. There were those riding upon fire breathing dragons and others cruising on sailing vessels. The first waves of my trip were coming on strong. You could say my consciousness was askewed. You could say I was operating my unit from a remote location and everything was right in the universe. I pedaled down to the Esplanade where I could hear the dance clubs going off. There was house music, trance music, techno music, urban music, ambient music, and angry and violent music. And off to my right was a drum circle with this dude jamming beautifully on the guitar. I looked up from 6 o'clock and I saw two neon baby blue laser lights streaming out across a desert sky out to the man and beyond to the giant vagina. And I started riding my bike across the playa. Riding one's bicycle across a playa can be like skinny dipping, baby. It's smooth and it's soft with the wind whipping up through your sleeves and the air caressing your hair. And there's glow sticks bouncing and EL wires spinning and flamethrowers pop, pop, popping in the distance. I arrived in front of the man next to a giant labyrinth. It was a quarter acre in size, and playing close by was Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, turning 24/7. And there was a sign at the beginning of the labyrinth, and it read, "Whatever you wish to accept into your life, or whatever you wish to let go of from your life, imagine that as though it's already happened. And hold that thought, feeling, intention in your heart as you walk through the labyrinth. And when you reach the other side, it will go out into manifest reality." And I thought, wow, what a cool idea. I started walking down through the labyrinth, having a brilliant conversation with myself out loud, when I heard someone from behind me say, "Wait up, I wish to walk with you." And I turned around and I saw this goddess. She was as tall as I was. And I thought, she must be talking to somebody else. And as I turned back around, she grabbed my hand. She said, "No, I was talking to you." And we walked along and we discussed how truly beautiful we are as a species when we're set free from this bestial ideal of profit, power, and property, and how innocence is indestructible. When we reached the end of the labyrinth, she asked me where I was from. And for the first time in my life, I forgot. I forgot where I was from. And I was trying to remember really, really hard. And it came back to me in a series of images. And then all of a sudden it seemed lame just to give it a label or a name. So I went on to say that I reside on the east side of 9 snow-capped mountain peaks. And they reach up into the sky with an unapologetic, exquisite delight, recalling me to majesty, reminding me of ecstasy. It's this place where the pine forest meets the juniper forest, And then it sweeps off into the sage of the open desert, and it's riddled with buttes and canyons and rim-rocked mesas that glow red in the morning sun. My moon rolls low over the Ochakos. My sun sets high on the Cascades. It's called Central Oregon. You might have heard it referred to as Bend, but I call it home. And she kissed me and walked away, and I never saw her again.
Hmm.
And then I rode my bike to a dome, playing some chill house music, danced with my eyes closed until dawn. And then I went back to camp and drank a really bad bottle of red wine and passed out on a couch in the street. And that was the night before the burn. And it pretty much ruined the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so vivid, so
So
good.
vivid.
I mean, I've been to Burning Man once, so I can relate. It takes me back for sure. And I love that you realize that your poetry was a gift, because the gift that me and my good friend Josh, we went together in 2019, so some time ago, but we wrote a song as our gift, and it's called The Butthole Blessing. And we got stickers made of like a nice juicy plump booty with the heart, and our intention was to go out. We wrote it, well, it's a song to the tune of Come Together by the Beatles, and it's pretty fucking fantastic. And we only blessed like our camp. We didn't end up blessing a bunch of people just because he got his bike stolen, and it was a whole ordeal, as you can imagine what that would be like. But the butthole blessing has completely carried on in our lives, and we've blessed hundreds of people now, because even just at one gathering, like we've done open mics, we blessed people at a mentorship thing, and we've taken it on all of our journeys. And so it is such a fun gift that we can bring, is not just something in the physical, but something that will impact people and bring the sense of delight, of fun, of play, that someone will remember in their heart, and bring a smile to their face, or invoke someone to give you a kiss on the playa, or whatever it is, right? And so I love that you discovered that there, and that in that giving is the receiving, right? Like nothing brings me more joy than to sing that song and just receive the reaction from the people that are receiving the blessing.
And that's another thing I learned at Burning Man too, is the sacred and the profane. It's like this the sacred doesn't have, I mean, the sacred and the profane both have a place in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well
Yeah.
said. Jeez.
So,
And I love humor.
yeah.
I would never want to be in a place where I can't laugh at myself, where I can't laugh at something.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks out there taking life way too serious. And yeah, that's a big philosophy of ours as well. I mean, play is a huge pillar of our work, and we laugh constantly. And it's the best medicine. It's the best healing. It's the best heart opener. It's the best, to shift the vibration of a space and elevate it. So yeah, humor is super important.
It's a superpower. Not everyone knows how to like cultivate it. I mean, we all have the ability to, right? But it's easier for some than others. And yeah, we can go to the highs of the highs and the depths of the depths, and that's the full human spectrum that we're here to experience.
I'm curious, William, for you, after that Burning Man trip, how did life unfold for the next few years? I know you said, it ruined a lot for you after having that experience. And I know you're a father now. Like, how did the journey look over the next little bit of time before stepping into fatherhood?
Well, I had two sons when that happened, when I went to Burning Man.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and they were little. Initially, so I danced for the first time at Burning Man.
Like actual dance? Like first
like
time
actually
dancing?
dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't grow up dancing, and I was terrified to dance. Terrified. My self-esteem, was so low. Growing up in a small town, I always, and growing up poor, like white trash, poor.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was an alcoholic and wasn't around. And my mom was one of those moms that doctors would prescribe, you know, in the 70s, when mothers who were overwhelmed were prescribed Valium. And for her, Valium led to Percocets and Percodans, you know. So I was basically grew up mostly feral, you could say, and just had a really low self-esteem. It was the designer 80s. It was designer everything, and I was poor. So I was like a second class. Not only was I separate because of my religion, I was separate because we were just poor.
Yeah.
And being at Burning Man, I felt so outclassed and so overwhelmed. But after being there for a little bit, I got to find out that I could have a conversation with anyone. You know, and there were so many people dancing. I felt like no one was looking because no one was looking. So I learned to dance. So by the end of it, I was having fun dancing, and people are dancing everywhere. And I'll never forget, we stopped in Lakeview at a Safeway on the way home. And I walked into Lakeview and I stood in the grocery store line, and everyone was standing there and no one was talking to each other, and no one was looking at each other, and no one was dancing. And I had this realization, oh my God, this is the world I live in. And so, and in a lot of ways, I wanted to bring that magic home. So I started to go to, there was a poetry slam here in town, and I started going to the poetry slam because I had opened this doorway of reciting poetry, and I just wanted to do more, just to connect and give it away. There's this Sufi saying that what gifts have been given to you, give them away and they'll set you free. What gifts that have been given to you, withhold them and they'll destroy you. So I've made a few contracts between myself and life itself, whatever that is. You know, I don't know what this is looking out from behind these eyes. I don't know what is behind this apparatus that walks and talks and moves. I don't know how I can eat a ham and cheese sandwich and some of my body turns into eyelids and toenails. You know, I don't know what holds these molecules together to make this reality. All I know is I didn't do it. I didn't create myself. So I made a few pacts, and one is I want to be a servant to life. You know, I'm certain that I could go buy brand new cars or big houses, or, you know, have my teeth bleached white or have hair implants, but none of that's going to make me happy. What really makes me happy is being a part of this life, and the things I value and nurture are the relationships in this life. And so one of those is when a moment calls for me to recite poetry, I will recite poetry. And I have literally recited poetry and have them start weeping because it touched something within them, and give me a hug, and I won't even tell them what my name is. I'll just walk away. And another one is I've made a decision. I would rather give a shit. You know, it's a big popular thing. I don't give a shit. I have no fucks to give. For me, I would rather give a shit. I would rather. If that's picking up a piece of trash, if that's helping someone, if that's taking the time to listen to someone, I would rather give a shit in this life. And I don't think there's a heaven waiting for me. I don't think there's a hell waiting for me. The truth is, I don't know what's waiting. I still would rather give a shit. That's my own personal decision that I've made in this life.
Yeah.
Even if no one is looking, I would rather give a shit about this life.
Yeah.
Gotta make that shit sacred.
Yeah, and what's interesting now, because, you know, in the past they had the carrot or the stick, and that heaven or hell would reward you or punish you. You know, I think this is a time for us as a species to remember that integrity comes from the inside out.
Yeah.
And it feels good to do the right thing.
Yeah.
It feels good to care. And I so hope our species gets over this profit, power, property thing, because that's not a value system for us to live by. And you can look at the wealthiest people in the world and find some of the most miserable people in the world.
Yeah.
Sacrificing and chasing to buy things is you know, and a lot of younger generations have checked out because they don't want to contribute to a corrupt system.
Yep.
You know, I hope that some of these younger generations are going to be the one that wake up and realize that there's something more important than money.
Yeah.
And we also have a generation dying off right now who's gripping power and and then they're slipping away. So I truly believe that there's a rebirth awaiting us. It's more worthy. I believe that. I choose to believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that too. And there's a really great book called The Fourth Turning. And it speaks about the cyclical nature of these like generations. It's like everything is seasonal, just like in nature, we are repeating these cycles every 20 to 25 years, and every those happen in 4 different turnings, and we're kind of at the end of this crisis turning right now. And I firmly believe that as well, that we're on the cusp of stepping into an enormous amount of prosperity and abundance for a good run. And I choose to stand in that as well. It may get a little dicier before we get there.
And it might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's inevitable that that's coming.
And what's funny is that'll come, and then people will get fat and happy and forget again, and the cycle will start again.
100%.
I wrote a poem about that. Do you want to hear another poem?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So this occurred in a dream. Swept away, traveling through darkened clouds, swirling in gray. Noticing off in the shadows, out in the distance, 3 naked nymphs. They were laughing boisterously, lapping lusciously, beckoning to me lasciviously. Their names would be Profit, Power, and Property, and I was eager to join their fray. Diving down into the shadows, penetrating the darkness. And as I drew closely in the dim light, I began to see their rich, red lips becoming pale and thin, their purling, enchanting smiles growing jagged and gray. Their eyes morphing from entreating straight into vicious maliciousness, fingernails growing long and sharp and turning and giving me chase. Thrashing, slashing, biting, gnashing, thirsting for my blood, seeking my very soul. I was stricken in panic and paralyzed with fear, and I searched down deep into the recesses of my memory for anything I can find that was impervious to shadow. And then 3 things came to me, ideas or concepts. They would be love, truth, integrity. Uttering these 3 words out loud, a beam of light rips through my darkness, and I'm staring intently into the brightest brightness of this light, saying, take me there, I wish to go there. And then there becomes here, and I'm in this room of iridescent liquid light. A voice emanates from this light, and she says to me, child of humanity, the first thing you must understand, the only true power you possess is your consciousness. But before you may manifest this infinite power of consciousness, you must become conscious. So wake up, sweetheart, and remember who you are. If you're into that kind of thing.
Just a little bit. Beautiful. I know this whole podcast could just be a poetry podcast.
That's it.
Yeah, but it's so great because you can articulate, or I find that I can articulate what I'm feeling so much better through poetry and metaphor and imagery, and it really helps to paint a picture that we can drop into and like really feel it beyond just trying to talk about something. So thank you for doing that so beautifully for us.
It's an honor, and that's how I found unity. I was looking for a spiritual community that didn't have this guilt and shame and fear as being their motivations.
Yeah.
And I wanted my kids to be around a multi-generational thing. I remember being a little kid in church and having dear friends who were in their 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And I never in a million years thought I would be a minister, but I just kept giving a shit and volunteering, and that just kind of where it led me. And now I get to talk about cool, spiritual, empowering things and be part of the community, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we really loved about Unity too.
Mm-hmm.
And what we noticed at Unity in Bend particularly where in Northern California and Grass Valley, it's definitely more of a older generation, very few kids. So it was just so sweet being able to see all the children and their involvement in the way that you or the community gets to honor the children and celebrate them and share what they're learning and unity and all these beautiful lessons that they get to learn and integrate. And then, these younger kids sharing and honoring their parents too. I remember one of the times we were there as a little girl who was celebrating her mom for being there for her when she got scared during a
Yeah.
movie, like something so simple but so touching. And I'm like, damn, like
Yeah.
that's how, we're not parents, but that's the kind of community that we want to be able to bring our kids into.
Yeah. That kind of
And that's what I think is. Go ahead.
I was just going to expand that to see how the community affirms the light in them and the innocence and the purity, and that's constantly propped up and celebrated and held with reverence, and then to see the confidence that these children have, they take up space. My mom kept saying that we brought my mom was visiting for a week, and she came through, and she couldn't stop remarking at how comfortable the children felt to take up space, and they're laid back doing their thing, and then to see the confidence, their hands shoot up to be runners, to take the microphones out into the crowd, and examples like you just shared about acknowledging their parents. It's really cool to see how much is instilled into the children, and it really shows. And I'm excited to raise my children in that kind of environment, and to have my kids be not shy, to walk up to new strangers who walk into the building, like what happened with us, and chat their ear off for 10 minutes and welcome them and give them a gift. And that kind of thing, versus like hiding behind my leg and being shy and timid, like that kind of stuff inspires me. So good job with whatever you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, it's really sweet to be a part of that. And I look forward to my feral child one day too. I just remember Flo, like her father was like, come here. And
We're about to start.
She's like, no, I'm greeting the people. Like, hello. I don't need to be anywhere, but right here.
Right here.
And she just said it how it was. It was like, like I am in my job, my divine calling right now. I am in service.
Yeah.
And being able to stand in that was just so great. So
I'm so curious, William, for you, ever since becoming a minister with Unity, what's life been like in that role? How has life shifted for you to be kind of accountable for such a community, and to be showing up week over week and that kind of thing?
It feels natural.
Yeah.
Like this is a calling, and it feels worthy and valuable to me. Yeah, it feels, because in a lot of ways, I'm holding space.
mhm.
I'm holding space, and in ministry school that we've done a lot of work. Well, first we did a big long section on self-care, because that's a problem with people who are ministers. They get burnt out,
Right.
and literally minister just means to be in service of. It means someone who's in service, someone who's looking out for the highest good, or is trying to hold the highest good up. And I've learned a lot of what I call ninja Jedi skills. And one of them was, if someone complains, 80% of the time it's not what they're complaining about. They have some unmet need or fear that's being unaddressed.
Yeah.
Right.
So the idea of listening as a ninja Jedi superpower is huge. To listen to someone, to ask questions so that they can talk enough that they can really get to where they need to go.
Yeah.
To me, that's valuable. To be able to be that person or play that part is valuable to me, because I would rather give a shit.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is when you see people, empowered around you, get to a place where they become empowered within themselves. I learned a lot about that in AA, in sponsoring people in AA. To see someone, come into their own power, and just how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't show up on a credit score or net worth, but but it's something that makes a person's life, rich. I feel
Yeah.
wealthy.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's how it does show up. It shows up in how many people adore you and love you around you. I know what that feels like. Feeling the love from a community is really, it is wealth. Wealth is our network, our community, the people around us, and giving your ear and giving your attention fully is really valuable. And I can completely resonate with that, especially because on my journey, a lot of my heartbreak comes from not feeling like my mother when I was younger was fully present. Like, she was there physically. My dad was working a lot, so she had a lot to manage on the home front with my sister and I. But to not feel her full presence because she's thinking of the to-do list of this that I got to worry about and the next thing and where I got to take the kids and what I'm going to make for dinner and this and that. And that carried out through my life of like, man, like, why can't people just be here with me fully? Like, I want to feel them. And, with this era of distraction, social media has like shortened our attention span, and people are so in the hustle and bustle and busy, next thing to the next thing. It's still something that I deal with, and I do my best to give myself fully to people and my attention and my listening ear as well, because that's how I want to receive love, And so I really see you and I honor you in that sacred service, because it is needed in this world. And to give people that opportunity to be fully heard, so the space to feel their feels fully, and to transmute, alchemize something in their life is really precious, whether they realize it in the moment or not.
And I get to talk about cool things like personal sovereignty,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
about something sacred that's not for sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Bryce was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
One of our good friends in a few podcasts ago. He's like, I'm interested at most in the things that money can't buy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And on our deathbeds, we're going to be wishing we spent more quality time, more present time with the ones we cared about most.
Yep.
So we're doing our best to do that as much as possible,
Yep.
not waiting too long for that. But
We really, it's like when I get caught up in the moment of the wealth or the money or whatever, but then I look back at my life and, the life that I'm living is the life that I would have dreamed of, right? Of the freedom that we have and living in a van and living on our own schedule, not having to clock in and clock out of work, being so supported whenever we go back to, home, family that welcomes us, and then always having, I've been working on a farm that I'm always welcome back to. So, like, being able to tend to the land and be able to be in service in that way, which also supports me. And then it just always seems to work out, and like the net appears, right? You jump and the net will appear. And sometimes, of course, the doubt is going to come and they're like, holy shit, I don't know if that parachute's going to open this time, right? But like again and again and again, it has.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's the evidence that we have, is like, okay, I'm here. I'm good. Like, I'm taken care of right now. Right. And like that, yeah, same with what Bryce said. It's like, there's a lot of shit going on all the time.
Mhm.
But like, what is happening right here and right now? And so I think a lot of people miss it because they get caught up in all the possibilities, all the potential shit or whatever that we hear on the news that we don't even have any confirmation that is real, right? And so it's like, what is real is what's here and now and in our communities and who we're connected with, and just trusting that we are connected to everyone that we need to be connected to to continue to be part of this great transformation that's happening on our planet right now.
Yeah.
So,
What a great time to be alive.
Yeah. It really is. It's exciting. It's exhilarating to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's important to
Yeah.
remember that, even when it gets
And I
dicey.
feel like I'm living in a science fiction movie.
Right.
Totally. I am like wigging. Like, we don't even know what's about to happen in these next few years with technology and AI and all the craziness. Like, we're going to be living in a world that we can't even really imagine.
Yeah.
You know, so but what do we want to imagine, right? Like, that becomes a question. It's like, what kind of world do we want to imagine? For our imagination is what creates our reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we have everything we need as a species to do something beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have all the technology and do it in a way that's beautiful
Yep.
and eloquent.
Yeah.
Everybody could have food and water and education and shelter and healthcare. Everybody, the whole world.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could have all the devices and still be living in a way that helps the earth to thrive.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we got to continue to help wake up more of the NPC-ness out there so we can all step further into our service and into our hearts and be of contribution to the collective. I think that's really important. So
Yeah, just teaching
I-
by
I
being.
think- I think there's a real thirst for it. I think
Yeah.
it's like the answer to a question that people don't even know they're asking yet.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully not everyone needs to dive in and crack their skull open to be
To wake
finding
up.
out. Yeah. But if that is the path, then so be it, you know?
Redefining rock bottom.
Yeah.
I'm curious, William, in kind of as we come to a close, for those who are listening, I'm curious, like what do you think? What makes a thriving life in your opinion?
Well, so with the word thrive, you have the concept of unimpeded growth.
Hmm.
And at the same time, growth comes through adversity. So a thriving life to me would look like growth and change and correction and redirection, but mostly a continual forward. And even that forward has ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Even in the great successes, there's been failures. So to me, a thriving is a continuing on, a willingness to adapt, and a willingness to surrender. You know, maybe what we thought we wanted wasn't what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I try to remember is to be teachable and to surrender the outcome and to be willing to look for direction.
Well said.
And that may not be a satisfying answer, but that's what's coming through for me right now.
No, what's
Oh,
coming
that's-
through is satisfying.
Definitely.
You know,
Yeah, I like that, the willingness piece.
to keep going, despite how challenging it gets. Yeah.
And our Reverend at the other Unity, she's like, even if you don't feel willing, maybe you can have a willingness to be willing.
Right. Are you willing to be willing? That's something that I've definitely said before.
Yeah, just crack the door open a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the parable about faith the size of a mustard seed.
Mm.
Mhm.
You know, in the rooms of AA, we'll say, well, if you can't imagine the rest of your life without alcohol, can you do today?
Yeah.
Can you do the next hour? You know, and then you're leaving the possibility open, which is different when it's closed.
Yep. 100%. Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything, those who have listened, who have really resonated with what you've shared today, is there any way they can connect further with you or share with the people some of the things that you've got going on in case they want to immerse themselves in your world a little bit more?
Well, yeah, man, I'm just a maxed out, overwhelmed dad. I do almost nothing to promote myself. It's hard for me even to take a selfie.
Hmm.
I do have a website under my artist name,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a Facebook page, which is Avatieri of the Juniper Forest. I'm sure you can put that in the notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the acting spiritual leader of Unity Spiritual Community of Bend. And they put my talks on YouTube. I gave a talk about the Ninja Jedi superpower of humor.
Awesome. We'll have to check
And
it out.
something else I've been doing more is, so the concept of cursing, cussing, cursing. There's also a thing about cursing people, or cursing things. There's a little known fact, so hang on, time out. We as sentient sovereign beings also have the ability to bless.
Oh yeah.
So I would like to give you and everyone visiting from outside of time and space. We're time traveling now because people will watch this in the future. I've always wanted to be a time traveler. So here's my blessing. Are you ready?
Yeah.
May you be greeted by 1,000 smiles. May Providence pave the way before you. And may the gods of adventure decorate your path with interesting and supportive characters. And so it is.
So it is. Yes.
Interesting, supportive, and weird characters.
Yeah.
Weird character.
Highly entertaining weirdos.
Curious characters.
Thank
Amazing.
you. Thank you for that blessing, William. And thank you for being willing to be on this podcast, after just getting to know us just a few moments, a few times. Thank you for saying yes.
I'm a slut for being willing.
Let's go.
Willing William. Maybe that will be your
Willing William.
Your name. You're the fun name game that we totally have been introduced to, and it is so helpful for remembering people's names.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think that's a good one for you. Willing William. Yep.
It's an honor.
Amazing. Any final words? Any last poetry? I mean, you just blessed us, so that feels pretty good. But if there's anything else that you're itching to share.
I'm complete. Thank you.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right.
Thanks again for being here, everybody who is listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
All right.
Bye
Peace
for now.
and love.